Hey y'all, welcome to the country where it's just another day in paradise. Let's see what's going on. Hey y'all, welcome to the country. I'm Susan with Susan's Country Living. Welcome to my channel. Glad you found me. Today I'm going to be canning some pinto beans and some Great Northern beans. Now this is super easy. I did not grow these. These are dry. So we're canning them from the dry state. I've done some research on canning dry beans, looked at lots of videos that people have done and blogs that people have written about dry canning these beans. So I feel very comfortable about doing this. In my ball canning book, it does say to soak your beans and cook your beans, but I want my beans to have a little firmness to them if I wanted to use them in like a taco salad or something like that, where I don't want them super mushy. So we're going to do that today. I'm going to be using pint jars, and we're going to be using a pressure canner today. These will be canned at 10 pounds of pressure. Some recipes said 75, some said 80. I'm going to do 75 because if they're a little firm still, that's okay. You're going to need some boiling water. Of course, your jars. I've heated my jars because I'm going to be adding boiling water to them. I've got my lids in some water. With the new lids, you really don't have to do that. Just wash them. They're going to get sterilized because we're pressure canning them. So what I did, I like to use something organic if I'm going to be canning. If I've grown it in my garden, I know it's organic. We don't use any inorganic pesticides. We use compost to fertilize with, so I feel comfortable using something organic. I order from Thrive. I like them. They're not sponsoring me, but I had ordered these dry beans a few months ago, and it takes preparation. It says to use them by August of 26. So they would be good for a few years, but it takes preparation to think about soaking them and cooking them. And I teach school. I'm going to be going back to work here in about a week, and I need something that is already cooked. I can dump into a pot or put in a salad. So we're going to can these dry beans up today. I'm going to use Redmond real salt. It's mined here in the United States from an ancient seabed, and it has a lot of minerals and good things in it for you. I've got my rings sitting over here ready, and my water's ready to go. I'm just keeping my water hot in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add half a cup of dry beans to each jar, and then you're going to add half a teaspoon of salt. This is for pints. If you're using a quart, you're going to use a cup of beans and a teaspoon of salt. You don't have to add salt. I've seen people add other seasonings to make like chili beans, with chili and cumin and oregano. And this is probably one of the simplest things to can. So if you're new to canning and you want to try something in your canner, this something that's economical, get you some dry beans. I've even seen people that did like the bean soup mix. They canned the beans. All right, I'm going to turn my water down. It's boiling. So I'm going to do 4 jars of pintos and 4 of the Great Northern beans. So these beans are going to soak up the water. Okay. I've got enough to probably do another jar of each, so I may run a second batch. My canner is not tall enough to stack pints, or I may pull my other canner out. I've got a smaller All-American canner, and do 2 more jars there. I've got a lot of water going because you need a lot of water to fill this jar. You're going to fill it to 1 inch half space. So if you've got one of these little gadgets, you put it on the last mark, that's 1 inch, and it's about up to where the jar starts to curve in. So I'm going to go ahead and add half a teaspoon of salt to each one in case we have that food shortage people are talking about. And this is a good way to preserve the nutrients because after, they're only good for so long as far as the nutrition. Good to eat, yes, if they're dry. But as time goes along, the nutrients in there start to break down. And it might, I added another thing of salt. Let me kind of, I was talking and not paying attention. So let me see if I can get some of that out here. That one may just be extra salty. That's okay. Water in a kettle, if I'm doing something like this, it just makes it easier to pour. But you could ladle it. So we're going to do water, 1-inch headspace. I'm going to go ahead and debubble. So I'm going to use my debubbler. You could use a spoon. I'm just going to kind of stir these to get any bubbles that might be trapped down in the beans, and that may cause the water level to go down a little bit. So that's why I'm doing this, and if I need to add more water, I'll just add more water. Some more water. So I'm going to just put my little device here, and I'm going to fill it up until the water reaches the bottom. There we go. Some of them just need just a splash or two. I think we're good to go and add our lids. You can wipe the rims. You can use vinegar, especially if you were putting any kind of meat in here. You would use vinegar to wipe the rims because of the fat, but because I'm just using salt and water and beans, I'm just going to wipe the rims. And because this is my first time canning beans, the dry beans, I'm going to use just your regular metal lids. Normally I use the Tatler lids that are reusable, but I'm going to use my metal lids today. And go ahead and put those on. And your bands of my older jars that were my grandmother's. Sometimes the new rings don't fit so well. Okay. Ooh, that's hot. All right, so just have these finger tight, ready to go into the canner. See what they look like right now. Then we'll look at them when they're finished. Now these Great Northern beans, you can make pork and beans with them, baked beans. I even saw some recipes where you can make the baked beans and then can them. That's kind of like what you would buy at the store, baked beans already made. So here's my pintos here. I had thought about adding some dried onions. I may do that because I have another bag. Sometimes I have to move it closer to me. So I can have some leverage. Use it a little with this new seal. It'll do a lot better. All right. Move it back here to my... And I'm going to get that water boiling. And you want steam to be coming out your vent where you're going to put your weight. And once that steam is like rushing out of there, I'll time for 10 minutes. My little button back here will pop up pretty soon. That lets me know pressure is building in there, and I want to get all that air out of the canner, and then I will put on a weight. I can it 10 pounds. This is a 15 with this ring on there. That way, if it does Like if something happens, I've got to go, walk away. I try, to stay with my canner when I'm canning and do other things. If it does get to 15, it will start to rock, and not just continue to build and build, because I do have a 25, 25 one, which I ordered one of these because I wanted that safety feature in that. So we're going to let this get going and take a look at our final product. So you may not be able to see, but there is steam coming out of that vent, and my little button at the back has popped up. So I'm going to start my timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so our canner has been venting for 10 minutes, and I'm ready to put the weight on. So I use tongs. I've been burnt by steam before, and that's no fun. So just put that on, and we're going to let it build to 10 pounds of pressure. I know where to turn my stove to maintain that, and I'll start my timer for 80 minutes, so 1 hour and 20 minutes. Okay, so our time is up, and I waited for the pressure to decrease. Took the weight off when the pressure was decreased, and opened the lid and let it sit 5 minutes before I start to take them out. I hear them going pop, pop, pop. There's see. So here is the pinto beans. And what I do is I have a wood board with a towel on it, and that's where I set my jars to cool. Some more pinto beans. And they're still boiling in the jar. Very, very hot. And I've got some more that I'm going to do. So, yeah, if you want to try some canning, you've got a pressure canner. Dried beans is a good start just to practice, because they're inexpensive, and if something happens and they don't turn out, it's okay. It's a learning process. When I first started, lots of failures. So I hope you have a good rest of your day. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button for more videos about living in the country, cooking, gardening, chickens, preserving your food. Kind of a little homestead here, but still working. Go back to school in about a week. So, bye, y'all.